Conversationist Coffee with Willie McNair. Welcome back.
All right, now we back at it again with another episode of Conversations Coffee. I'm in the building with my boy Jermaine. He is at Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island. So, with that being the case, here's the thing. Conversations Coffee is a platform for entrepreneurs. However, here's the thing. You know, a lot of times, a lot of us enter college, universities, so on, so forth and so on. And when we do these things, we don't necessarily have an understanding of what entrepreneurship is. We don't necessarily have an understanding of what it is that we're going to do after our 4 years of college, right? And with that being said, we don't even have an understanding of what we're going to do after the second half of our freshman year of college, you know? So again, I got my boy Jermaine, he in the building, and he's at Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island. And with that being the case, he's also the chaplain there. So he meets with a lot of different students. He meets with a lot of different staff, and he pretty much has the job and the capacity of leveling out the perspective of the student and the perspective of the staff in the same sense. And with that being the case, you know, we want to get into this interview, and I got a couple of questions for him, and here you go. And mind you, we're both Kappas, so be advised. Phi Nu Pi.
Brother, before you begin, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on your podcast. It's such a blessing.
Most definitely.
I was glad to be a part of the number. And so even though I work in education,
yes,
I am anyways an entrepreneur as well. And I'll tell you a little bit more about it, because I'm actually going to be launching an education consultancy business this year. Because of my vast experiences working in education for the past 12 years in higher ed, and even in the secondary high school. So I have a lot of experience. And so I'm actually turning all that experiences and I'm putting it together. And I'm right now my plan now. So next time you see me, I will be a for real legit entrepreneur, but I'm in the process of becoming that way. But I got a lot of stuff that I'd like to share along that way.
So does that mean we're going to have a part 2 to the part 1?
It could be a part 2, brother. It could be a part 2.
Most definitely a part 2. I you know what they say, you got to see things into fruition, and you got to speak things into existence. And I'm pretty sure, Brother Jermaine, you yourself, you know all about that. And with that being the case, it's like, if we don't speak into existence, it'll never happen. We got to kind of sometimes put these things up in the clouds and make them work, right?
Make them work, write them down,
Write them down. Exactly. Especially with being right now, we just went through 2021 to 2022. So if you haven't, this is just my personal thing, if you haven't written down your goals, your ambitions, whatever it is that you have, that you feel as if you need to make happen in 2022, go ahead and write it down. Just write it down. It's not that bad. When you write it down, it's like you write it down and you write it down to God, and God automatically says, you know what? You put the effort in, I'll make it happen for you. It's really that simple. People don't realize that. People really don't realize that. So go ahead, brother. I see you got something.
I was gonna say, so I try to do a goal per quarter. So 4 quarters, right? So just 4 goals that I set for the new year. Mm-hmm. And I'm still have to do that for this year. Mm-hmm. But one of the things, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, I had 4 goals last year to reduce my debt, to buy some property, to hit my goal weight, and to get a new job and become assistant dean of something. Oh, wow. Now I'll be real legit and transparent, because that's who I am. I had these 4 goals, and I only hit one of those goals.
It's okay.
And it came at the last quarter of the year in December. But you know what? I'm like, you know what? It held me accountable. I saw those goals every day as I looked on my whiteboard, my vision board. Mm-hmm. It held me accountable, and it still helped me to keep pushing for something. So even though if I didn't hit all 4 of those goals, I still hit one of those goals, which is more than what I hit before. So I did something I hadn't done before. So that's how I look at it.
Definitely. Because, if we don't actually take heed to our life and manifest into what it is that we have and what it is that we want to accomplish, it's almost like the galaxy and the stars. They just have their way with us. Mm. But just for me, and you can honestly correct me if I'm wrong, Chaplin. In the same sense, I feel as if we have control over those things. And the control that we have over those things is that we have to manifest them, we have to say them, and we have to actually pursue them. Because any event, and the mere small chance that we do not pursue them, that we do not go after them, there's a possibility that they'll disappear. And as they say, the richest place on earth, a lot of people don't know this, the richest place on earth is the cemetery. It is the house and the home of the dreams and desires of those that have passed on, that have never pursued them. Yeah. And that is deepest to the most deepest imaginable point. And with that being said, it's kind of like, wow. Yeah. So before we get into the entrepreneurial statute of yourself, right? We want to get into the understanding of, okay, cool. I'm a freshman in high school. High school. I'm a freshman in college. And as I'm a freshman in college, and I've already endured my first half of the freshman year, right? Because just the same as you got 4 quarters in a year, you have 2 semesters in a year, and maybe even the third semester, which is the summer semester, right, in college, right? Mm-hmm. And again, this is a platform for entrepreneurs. But in the same sense, some entrepreneurs take the steps of pursuing college first to get their foot in the world, get their foot in society before they pursue that entrepreneurial step, right? So this is just to give them an understanding of that second half of college. Yeah. What do you think, in your opinion, Pastor? My bad, Chaplin. What do you think, Chaplin, in the second half? What do those students have to come? Like, what do they have to look forward to? Yeah. In your opinion?
So I'm gonna take a step back because I want to tell a little bit about my story and how I ended up here.
Go ahead, please.
I am the Associate University Chaplain at Brown University, and sometimes people think all I do is sit up and pray and preach in my office every day, and that is so not the case. In many ways, yes, I'm a very spiritual person. I'm a Christian. That's my background. Grew up in the church, born and raised. But I'm not your traditional pastor. And so when I say that, I talk about stuff that most normal pastors wouldn't talk about in front of their pulpit. And I talk about the real issues that our students and our young people are facing each and every day. Okay. Mm-hmm. I talk about the socio-political climate. I talked about the mental health issues that we often face and just what it's like to often be individuals of color navigating this world. And so I tend to help cultivate the spiritual, emotional, intellectual well-being of students. And so my point of departure is a strong sense of care. And I try to be the person that I did not have in college. And so for me, I'm born and raised in Chicago. I attended a school, I'm not going to say its name, but a state school in the city of Chicago. And so I was a commuter student my first semester. I 4.0 GPA. I'm very smart. I know what I'm doing. And then second semester, academic probation. Okay. So how does one go from a 4.0 GPA to being on academic probation the next semester? And oftentimes people think that, college is about how smart you are. It has nothing to do with how smart you are. It's about good advising.
Yes.
Talking to the right people and making sure you're getting the right courses. And 2, of course, is about doing the work and persistence. I kind of maybe got a little bit too lax, right? I got too comfortable. But also it's about being in the right environment. And it's funny because I knew probably the first couple of weeks of school that my environment that I was at that institution was not the place for me. I knew it. They didn't really have my major. And from what I saw, like from when I was there for 5 years, 90 credit hours, never graduated. And my GPA, if you look at my academic transcript, it's like a seesaw. It's like it's up and down, up and down. And so as I talk to students, especially going after they finish their first semester, either they really done really well or they kind of done terrible. And this is what I usually see.
Definitely.
It's kind of usually a few in between, but mostly they done really well. They've gotten acclimated, but some may have struggled. And so I say the same thing to the same people, the persons, whether if you did really well or not, or if you didn't do well, keep going. Okay. Don't sleep. Let me take that back. You need to sleep, but don't sleep on your dreams. Don't sleep on your goals. If I'm being real honest.
Mm-hmm.
And so oftentimes we can get comfortable. It's like, oh, I got this. Oh, my first semester. Usually your first semester, you're taking light courses. You may be taking some courses that repeat in high school. And so, but second semester, it gets real. And so if you did do well, now's not the time to be lackadaisical or, make sure you continue to push and study and go to the library. And if you didn't do well your first semester, don't beat yourself up too hard. Look at, okay, it is what it is. What can I do to help move myself forward, to make sure that I'm not on academic probation, to make sure that I am not just surviving, but thriving in school. And so just being self-aware and also being noted, knowing, okay, I didn't do too well. Perhaps I should probably go get some tutoring, or maybe I should do some things, and really doing a self-assessment about who it is and what you want to be. And I know that's a difficult question to ask an 18-year-old, a 19-year-old, but those are some questions that you should start thinking about as you navigate that first and second semester.
And what's crazy? I promise you, like when I originally thought about this segment, and I had a conference for Kappa Alpha Psi, and when I thought about it, I said, you know what, this brother will be good for this segment that I have, and I was wrong, and I'm gonna tell you I was wrong. I was wrong because you was daggone phenomenal. And I'm not just trying to say that to shrug your shoulders or whatever the case may be, but if you think about it, right, even from a entrepreneurial standpoint, the first 2-3 years that you are an entrepreneur, you probably will fail at it, right? And it's the same sense when you come to a college perspective and you're in your first and second semester of college, going into your third semester of college. And excuse me, again, you're only 18, 19 years old. And unfortunately, more times than likely, we quit before we get started. We don't realize how smart we are. We don't realize how driven we are. We don't realize all the tools that we have acquired over the time that are necessary to pursue further endeavors in life, just in general, and whether you go into the entrepreneurial path, or you go into the corporate path, or you go into the, whatever path it is that you go into, I feel as if what you just said was equivalent to either or path. Because at no standpoint can you give up. At no standpoint can you quit. At no standpoint can you look at your failures and say, hey, I can't fail forward. Because at the end of the day, I feel as if in life, you're gonna always fail at something. And I feel also in life that as in when you're failing, you fail forward. And what I mean by failing forward is that you fail forward into the point to where you're at the pinnacle, the summit of your life, to where now you can actually gravitate because you've endured failing already.
Yeah.
So you're no longer afraid of failing. You're just pursuing the fact of reaching your summit.
Yeah.
You have any insight on that, brother?
Well, I will say this. I think, and either if the school or any something new,
Yeah.
when we get in these positions or we get in the school, even though we had the wherewithal to apply, right?
Yeah.
We had the wherewithal to apply to school. Someone pushed us, or we had this intrinsic motivation. Or if it's a new job, we had the capacity to apply for these jobs.
Yeah.
But even still, depending on where we are or how confident we feel, we still may walk into these new spaces
Yeah.
and feel uncomfortable. And many of us will battle imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
So a lot of the work that I do, working with young people, is just telling them, listen, you can do this. You belong here. It was no mistake, right? If we had, or out of, like, let's say, for example, if we have 100 students that apply, we only accept 7 out of that 100. And so you belong here, but oftentimes individuals will have this imposter syndrome because they feel as if, oh, I didn't come from a certain background or a certain pedigree, or they made a mistake. And it's like, no. And that's the same advice that I say to individuals who are doing entrepreneurship or who are stepping out in new endeavors. Do it scared if you have to. Just do it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so that imposter syndrome, something was inside you to start and spark this new endeavor. So just go with it. And I know it's frightening. I know it's scary. But I do believe if you stick with something, and you're aligned with your purpose and your passions, I think it will eventually be successful. I tell people all the time, all the stuff that I know is via trial and error. And my goal is to make sure that no one experiences the things that I've experienced, and no student has to go 7-8 years via undergrad still trying to pursue one degree. And so if I can help somebody along the way, if I can give them some advice, if I can tell them, make sure you know your student handbook front to back. Don't let these individuals tell you what to take. Know for yourself. And so those are some of the insights that I'll tell freshmen, specifically freshmen, as they navigate these tough terrains. And you have to be your biggest advocate, because no one is going to be your advocate for you. You have to be your biggest advocate in these spaces.
And like I said earlier to you too as well, Jermaine, I have a niece, and she's going to college now, and she's enjoying these things. And she was up against a couple of other different freshmen for a particular role within student body. Mm-hmm. And most people freshman year, they wouldn't even like take that role on, because they just kind of feel like the rigors of college itself are too demanding, to the point to where I can't even pursue nothing of the sort of enduring becoming student body president for the freshman class, or anything to that nature. It doesn't matter if you're going to Ivy League school as in Brown, or you're going to HBCU as in Clark University. Either way, it's the same thing enduring. And it's almost like, how do I as a person fit in, right? And I think for the most part, actually for the holistic part, you were able to actually give a very holistic approach in how to actually do that and pursue that and kind of see things. Because not only did you go from the aspect of a successful student in the first semester of your freshman year, you went from a failing student in the freshman year as well for the first semester. And you were able to actually kind of indulge in a holistic approach to where now, if I'm doing good and I'm successful, don't take that for granted, because the next semester can actually hit you harder than you ever believed in life, right? Or if I'm coming at it from a statute of the first semester kicked my behind, and I need to actually kind of hone in on everything that was transpiring, because I wasn't necessarily ready yet, and I may be a 5-6 year, college student, because I haven't gravitated to it in the first year or so, keep going, because it'll never stop. You got to fail forward.
And I will say this. So you talked about fitting in. My thing is, I don't believe students should fit in. Okay, in college,
right, correct.
In high schools, we try to fit into different social cliques, but college is really one of those places and a space where you can really be your authentic self, or at least you should be working toward being your authentic self. Correct. And so, finding about who it is you are as an individual, and that's why one thing I loved about HBCUs, and I'm not going to give one shout out over another, but I went to visit a HBCU in the DMV area. Yes, sir. And I just remember walking on campus as a high school student and seeing the various diversity amongst Black students. Like it's like you had everybody. And I'm like, this is amazing. And so often, depending on where you grow up and what high school you go to, people tend to be very homogenous. But it was so much diversity in this space. And so I tell people all the time, I don't know, college is about fitting in. It's about finding who you are and finding your people, right? Finding your people, finding your crew, but not necessarily fitting in to what you think a person at this institution should be out.
I understand.
And so I'm always trying to inspire and encourage students to really, really dig into their passions. Because I see a lot of what we call helicopter parents telling their students what they should major in. That was the case with my mom. She told me what school I was going to go to. She told me what degree I was going to pursue. And I spent all this time in a degree program that wasn't a good fit for me because of my parents. Unfortunately, money too as well. Yeah, yes, exactly. Money, because money is always about money. Unfortunately, when you're talking about post-secondary success, it has a pivotal point of money, and unfortunately, a lot of times, we all want to go into entrepreneurship right out of high school, or not even complete high school and go into entrepreneurship. But sometimes we may need to actually go and get those college courses and then pursue entrepreneurship, in a sense. But then we have those parents that either know something or don't know something about a school, and they say, hey, you're going to Harvard. And when you go to Harvard, you're going to be a lawyer. And in your head, you're thinking, I don't like law. I just don't like law. Or better yet, I see all the time, students will come in being a biology pre-med major because their parents want them to become a doctor, but they don't really have interest in that. Yeah. And so it's always a constant struggle. But I tell people, the longer you drive in someone else's lane and another person's car, the longer it's going to take to get to your destination. Definitely. And so it comes to a point where many times I'm really having these conversations with students, like, hey, this is really find out who it is that you are. What are you passionate about? What do you think your purpose is aligned with? And something that's practical. I call it the 3 Ps, the professions, and then go from there. And I don't think you have to have it all figured out at 18, 19 years old. You just have to figure out a major. And you just got to figure out the next 2 to 3 years of college, but you don't have to have a whole life plan figured out. And there are some people who come into college knowing what they want to be, knowing they want to be accountant, knowing they want to be a lawyer, and they go for and they stick with it and they live great lives. And I think that's great. But some of us, we're not like that. We're exploring. We're trying to figure out who we are and what do we want to be. And so college should allow you that space to figure things out. Yeah. One thing I like about Brown, and I always say this, there's no way that I would have gone to Brown as an undergrad because I couldn't have got in. I'm just being completely honest. But I help those who have gotten in. And the hardest part about Brown in many ways is getting into the institution. Yeah. Because they allow space for creativity. So for example, if you get anything below a C in a class, it falls off your transcript. Oh wow! It falls off your transcript. That's like master's degree type level though. I don't even know if that's master's degree. you can get 2 C's. I know about that. You get 2 C's at a master's degree level and MBA level, it's over with. It's over with.
I'm telling you now,
Yeah.
it's over with.
Additionally, at Brown, you could take your whole curriculum if you want to pass fail, if you wanted to. And so why do they do that? Because they want you to focus on engaging in the work, not necessarily about grades per se. And so when you create a space, and I wish more schools was like this, when you create a space to really have some type of intellectual curiosity and really engage in the work without the pressure to necessarily perform, it really creates a space for individuals to really find out who they are. Now, I will say, once I transferred from my institution and I graduated from Columbia College, Chicago, it's a media art school. Once I found a place for me, Dean's List every semester. So it's a little bit about finding, if this is the right space, is this the right major, and really just saying, okay, is this the right time? Because some of us are not mature enough to go across the United States to a school and be away from parents. And some of us have been so conditioned, been under so much control of our parents that once we get a little bit of freedom, we go buck wild with it.
Yeah. It's party time now.
Yeah.
It's party time.
You have to whom much is given, much is required, and you have to be able to carry the responsibility of being an emerging adult. And so I think about, as I talk to freshmen, like I said, who may have done well, who may not have done well. Okay, it's always time to reset, because that's just one semester.
Definitely.
Of
many,
a lot, right? One semester out of what, 8?
Yeah, 8. If you're lucky,
Yeah.
because you might be like me and do 5 years. I did 5 years. I'm sorry, I did 5 years.
I did 7. Like,
it is what it is. And I came out the Marine Corps, so I had not only did I have the tenacity and I had the capability and I had the discipline, I had everything. But in the same sense, the one thing I was omitting the focus.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't focused to the point to where I could achieve the grades that I needed to achieve to pass the rigors of a 4-year institution.
Yeah.
Completed. However, I was able to actually hone in and get things accomplished. Go ahead,
Ricky. What we don't talk about is the fact that we want students to bring their whole selves into the space, right?
Yeah.
This is what we be your authentic self. And if we are really being honest about that, students are carrying a lot of baggage.
Yeah.
A lot of baggage, or better yet, they may experience some traumatic events. They may experience a loss of someone who was very dear to them, whether if it's a friend or a close relative or their mother or their grandmother, all while being in school. And we don't realize how much of an impact the external factors impact the internal self.
Mm-hmm.
And that could really impact one's performance in school. And some people, and everyone is different. Some people are just like, keep pushing. Everyone deals with grief and trauma differently. Some people suppress it and act like it's not there, and they just continue to push on. But some people are really impacted by that. And I think about, even when we, and as a working professional, when someone passes, you get 2 or 3 days for bereavement, and then you're expected to go back to work and act like nothing has happened.
Nothing at all. That's crazy.
Real talk, that's so crazy, brother. That is so crazy. So now, why is the fact that, and everyone knows that's not sustainable, that's not realistic.
True.
And so it's not realistic as a college student either. If you're dealing with trauma, traumatic events, or a loss of a loved one, you're gonna need more than 2 days to get yourself together.
Yeah.
You're going to need more than 2 weeks, perhaps. And so one thing that I like about being in this environment, we really do care for individuals, and we work together to make sure that students feel supported. So if they need to take some time off, our deans or student support are emailing the professors. They're working with these students to make sure that they're successful. Because the thing is, I don't think universities realize the biggest marketing tool for a university is your students, and their experiences will determine whether or not other students will come to your institution. And
Yeah.
you see it right now. Students are protesting about conditions of various institutions. And it's all online, it's all on Twitter, it's all on Instagram and Facebook, right?
Yeah.
And so that's definitely going to shape someone else's, a prospective student's experience. So the experience is how we deal with students while they're there will definitely determine whether our next generations of students are going to come. And so I believe in having a holistic plan of care, making sure they're good emotionally, mentally, taking advantage of some counseling services. You know that you have struggled with some issues, or if you don't know that you struggle with some issues, you still should probably go see someone. And most schools have a robust counseling program.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are the ways I tell people to be successful. You have to be your biggest advocate. If there's something you need, if there's something you're not getting, talk to somebody.
Definitely.
Whether it's your chaplain, whether if it's your advisor, if the advisor can't help you, talk to the dean. And so being a big advocate for yourself will definitely determine the opportunities that will come your way in undergrad and how successful you will be.
And, you know, I'll say this. I wasn't going to say that first, but I'm going to say this because it's real, you know, and I feel as if throughout this whole episode here, we have been very authentic in the sense of we gave you the things from an entrepreneur standpoint. We gave you the outsides from the actual, the rigors of a college or university student standpoint. And, you know, for me being post-military, I'll give you the standpoint from a military standpoint. In 2001, when I went into the Marine Corps, 9/11 happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
After 9/11 transpired, I had an aunt, and she had passed away January of 2002 after I graduated from Marine Corps boot camp. And I graduated from Marine Corps boot camp in 2001 December, and I was home on Marine Corps recruiting duty on 2002 January.
Mm-hmm.
And just a hint on it, like my aunt had passed away, and you know I kind of phoned in and kind of went down to my recruiting office and said, "Hey, I can't participate in recruiting duty." And basically, the reason why I can't is because my aunt had passed away and her funeral is X, Y, and Z date.
Mm-hmm.
The gentleman told me to go home that day and be back tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Not even a 2-3 day, 4 day off. It was go home that day and be home. And be back to work tomorrow. Luckily enough, the whole military is not like that. One of my senior staff and CEOs pulled me to the side and said, "Listen, what you need to do is you need to spend time with your family. I'll speak to that individual and I would allow you the opportunity to spend time with your family member, because that is something internally that you have to manifest."
Mm-hmm.
Again, that was my aunt. And what I will say is just take heed to that, because it's not every time, especially during this time in 2022 with COVID and 2019, COVID-19 and so forth and so on. We have so many things that we are enduring at this point in time that we don't have the capacity of individuals to be empathetic and sympathetic to the fact and the facet of these individuals that are dealing with what it is they're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's something that you have to take heed as an entrepreneur. That's something you have to take heed as a college student, whether you're a freshman, a senior, a sophomore, or junior. And that's something you have to take heed to just in general, if you just go from high school to the workspace, or if you're just in high school in general. However, here at Conversationalist Coffee, it is our liberty to bring these things to your hindsight, so you have an understanding of what it is that we are enduring, what it is that you're enduring, and how to actually endure this thing and take it in from a holistic standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, we're gonna tap out. Again, we have the chaplain from Brown University, Jermaine, and he's gonna be back again with Conversations Coffee. We didn't necessarily get a chance to kind of indulge on his entrepreneurial standpoint, but we're gonna say that for next time. Next time is Jermaine in entrepreneurship.
Okay.
This time is Jermaine in a capacity of being a chaplain with Brown University. And, you know, and with that, we're gonna tap out. It's Conversations Coffee. And Jermaine, you got any final words for them?
I just want to say thank you so much, Brother Ricky, and for all those young people who are struggling trying to figure things out and worried about what's going to happen. I know it's very tough with COVID, and I get it, I understand. I just want you to know that you are going to be all right. All right. You are going to be all right, and you have to believe that you are going to be all right. Even though the world is chaotic, just know that you are going to be all right. So my goal and my prayer for you is that you go ahead, be your biggest advocate in this thing called school, and just know that you got somebody in Providence, Rhode Island rooting for you.
Yes, definitely. Definitely, brother.
All right.
And you know what? We Conversations Coffee, and we got my brother Chaplain Jermaine on the line, and we out. Peace.
Peace.
Coffee. Let's go. Tap in. Make sure you like, subscribe. Let us know what you think. And again, you'll see Jermaine again. Let's go.